The research station floated quietly at the edge of human space, a small collection of modules connected by narrow corridors. Dr. Laura stood at the observation window of the biology lab, watching her daughter play among the specimen containers. Sophie was 8 years old, with bright eyes that saw wonder in everything. She pressed her face against the glass of a containment unit, watching small alien plants glow in different colors. "Mom, this one is turning purple," Sophie said, pointing at a flowering specimen from the third moon of 442. Laura smiled. "That means it's happy. The purple color shows it's getting enough light." The research station housed 15 people. Most were scientists studying peaceful alien life forms. Lieutenant Daniel ran the small security team of 3 people. He walked past the lab, checking the corridor sensors like he did every hour. Daniel was a quiet man who took his job seriously, even though nothing dangerous ever happened out here. The station's proximity alarm chimed softly. Laura looked up from her data pad. Visitors were rare this far from the main shipping lanes. Daniel's voice came through the communication system. "Doctor, we have incoming ships, vessels, 12 of them." Laura felt her stomach tighten. They were a powerful species known for their military strength and their distrust of humans. They called humans because Earth was considered a harsh planet by galactic standards. Most species evolved on gentle worlds with light gravity and calm weather. Earth had storms, predators, and dangers that made other species uncomfortable. "Are they here for a diplomatic visit?" Laura asked, keeping her voice calm for Sophie's sake. "They claim they are," Daniel replied. "But 12 warships for a diplomatic visit seems excessive." Sophie tugged on her mother's lab coat. "Are those the lizard people you told me about?" "They aren't exactly lizards, sweetie. They're reptilian, but much more advanced." Laura knelt down to Sophie's level. "Why don't you go to the greenhouse and water the earth plants? I need to attend a meeting." Sophie nodded and skipped toward the door. The greenhouse was her favorite place on the station. It reminded her of the garden they had back on Earth before they came to space. Laura made her way to the command center, a small room filled with monitors and communication equipment. Daniel stood beside Commander Victor Hayes, who commanded the patrol ship stationed 2 hours away. Victor appeared on the main screen, his weathered face showing concern. "They are demanding we power down our shields," Victor said. "They claim this station violates territorial agreements." "That's impossible," Laura replied. "We filed all the proper documents. The Galactic Council approved our research permit." On another screen, Ambassador appeared. The diplomat had facilitated many human-alien negotiations. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of distress in his species. "I have reviewed the claims," said his translator, rendering his clicks into standard speech. "They present evidence that this station houses military equipment. Doctor, is this true?" "Absolutely not," Laura said firmly. "We have scientific instruments, nothing more." Daniel pulled up the station's inventory logs. "Our most dangerous equipment is a laser cutter for mineral samples. Everything here is standard research gear." The flagship moved closer to the station. It was massive, 10 times larger than the research outpost. 11 other ships spread out in formation around it. Their hulls were dark gray, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. A new face appeared on the screen. Commander of the Empire had scales that shimmered green and yellow. His eyes were cold and calculating. "Human station, you have violated our territorial claims. Surrender immediately or face destruction." "This is neutral space," Victor protested from his patrol ship. "The Galactic Council will hear about this threat." "The Council moves slowly," said, showing rows of sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "We move quickly. You have 10 minutes to evacuate. After that, we will eliminate this illegal outpost." The screen went dark. Daniel immediately activated the evacuation alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Scientists rushed to their emergency stations, grabbing essential data and personal items. Laura ran toward the greenhouse. The evacuation shuttles were in the opposite direction, but she needed Sophie first. Her daughter was more important than any research data. The greenhouse occupied the lowest level of the station, a large dome filled with plants from Earth. Sophie stood among tomato vines, watering them with a small spray bottle. She looked up when her mother entered, confused by the alarm. "Mom, what's happening?" "We need to leave, honey, right now." Laura grabbed Sophie's hand. They headed for the exit, but the door sealed shut. Emergency bulkheads had activated, locking down sections of the station to prevent explosive decompression. Laura pulled out her override key card and swiped it. Nothing happened. "Daniel," she said into her communication badge, "the greenhouse door won't open." "They are jamming our systems," Daniel replied, his voice tight with stress. "I'm coming to you. Stay away from the exterior walls." Through the transparent dome, Laura could see the ships repositioning. One cruiser turned its weapons toward the station. She pulled Sophie behind a large water tank, the only solid cover in the greenhouse. On the flagship, Commander studied his tactical display. His sensors showed most humans had evacuated to the upper levels, but one section still showed life signs. 2 humans remained in the lower greenhouse module. His sensor operator the biosignatures. "Commander, one of the humans is a juvenile. Age approximately 8 years based on size and energy signature." Scales darkened with satisfaction. Humans were dangerous because they bred quickly and spread across planets like an infection. Eliminating human offspring was strategically valuable. It would send a message to other human settlements. More importantly, it would prove that humans were not as tough as their reputation suggested. "Target the greenhouse section," ordered. "Precision strike. Leave the rest of the station intact for now." His weapons officer hesitated. "Commander, targeting a child violates Galactic Council regulations regarding warfare." "The Council is not here," said coldly. "We are fire when ready." The cruiser charged its main plasma cannon. The weapon glowed blue, building power for a focused shot that would vaporize the greenhouse and everything in it. Daniel ran through the corridors, his magnetic boots clanging on the metal floor. He could see the ship through the corridor windows, its weapon glowing brighter. He was still 3 corridors away from the greenhouse. Too far, too slow. In the greenhouse, Sophie squeezed her mother's hand. "Mom, I'm scared." Laura held her daughter close, searching desperately for options. The dome was transparent aluminum, strong enough to hold atmosphere but not strong enough to stop a military weapon. She grabbed her communication badge. "This is Dr. Laura. If anyone can hear this, we have a child trapped in the greenhouse. They are targeting us. Please, someone help." The message broadcast on all frequencies, a desperate plea into the void of space. The plasma cannon reached full charge. The weapons officer locked onto the greenhouse coordinates. His finger moved toward the firing control. Commander watched the targeting display, confident in his decision. In his mind, this was justice. Humans were a threat to the galaxy. Better to eliminate them now, starting with their young before they spread further. The plasma cannon fired. A bolt of superheated energy screamed across the void toward the research station, toward the greenhouse, toward an 8-year-old girl who just wanted to water her plants. The blast would arrive in 4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Captain Jake sat in the command chair of the stealth frigate Honey Badger, reviewing patrol logs when the distress signal came through. The message was brief but carried raw fear in every word. A woman's voice, professional but breaking. A child in danger, targeting civilians. "Amy, confirm that signal," Jake said to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Amy's fingers flew across her console. "Signal authenticated, Captain. Research Station Delta 7, Fleet 12 heavy cruisers. They're firing on the station." She looked up, her face pale. "Sir, the target is the greenhouse section. Sensors show 2 humans there. One is a child." Jake was out of his chair before she finished speaking. "Peter, full power to engines. Break stealth protocol. I want maximum speed." Chief Engineer Peter didn't hesitate. "Stealth systems offline. Reactors at 120%. We're going to light up every sensor in the sector, Captain." "Good, let them see us coming." The Honey Badger was unlike any other ship in the human fleet. It was designed for asymmetric warfare, built to fight enemies much larger and more powerful. The ship was small, fast, and carried experimental weapons that most admirals didn't trust yet. Jake had volunteered to command it because he believed in fighting smart, not fair. "Time to intercept?" Jake asked. 45 seconds to weapons range," Amy replied. "Captain, that plasma bolt will hit the greenhouse in 30 seconds. "Can we deflect it?" Amy ran calculations, her hands shaking slightly. "The gravitational displacement field might work. We've never tested it in combat." "First time for everything. Peter, divert all available power to the displacement generator." Already on it, Captain. You'll have 10 seconds of field strength, maybe 15. The Honey Badger shot through space faster than most ships its size should move. The void between stars blurred past the viewports. On the tactical display, Jake watched the plasma bolt streaking toward the research station, toward a greenhouse, toward a little girl who was probably terrified. 20 seconds, Amy counted down. Jake gripped his armrests. The Honey Badger had been designed to protect human interests in hostile space. This was exactly the situation they had trained for, but training was different from reality. If he miscalculated, if the field generator failed, that child would die. 15 seconds to impact, 10 seconds to field range. Position us between the bolt and the target, Jake ordered. Amy, the moment we're in position, activate the field. The Honey Badger turned sharply, its inertial dampeners struggling to compensate. The crew felt the force of the turn pulling them sideways. Peter watched his power levels spike dangerously high, but the ship held together. In position, Amy announced. Activating gravitational displacement field now. The space in front of the Honey Badger rippled like water. The experimental technology created a localized gravity well that could bend the path of energy weapons. In theory, the tests had been promising, but theory and practice were different things when lives hung in the balance. The plasma bolt entered the field. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then the bolt curved, its trajectory bending away from the research station. The energy weapon arced back toward the fleet, moving faster now, accelerated by the gravitational forces. The bolt struck the flagship's shields. The shields flared bright purple, absorbing the impact but draining power from other systems. On the flagship, Commander stumbled as his ship shook. "What happened? Report." "Sir, an unknown vessel intercepted our weapon. They used some kind of gravity manipulation. Our own plasma bolt struck our shields." "Impossible. Humans don't have that technology." "The vessel identifies as the human frigate Honey Badger, sir. It appeared from nowhere. Stealth capabilities beyond our detection range." Scales flushed dark red with anger. "One frigate, one small human ship dares to interfere, destroy it. All ships focus fire on that vessel." In the greenhouse, Laura opened her eyes. She was still alive. Sophie was still alive. Through the dome, she saw a ship unlike any she had seen before. It was lean and aggressive, painted dark gray with sharp angles, and it had just saved them. Daniel reached the greenhouse door and finally got it open. He rushed inside, breathing hard. "Doctor, are you okay?" "That ship," Laura said, pointing. "It saved us." "That's a military vessel. Come on, we need to get to the evacuation shuttle." Laura picked up Sophie and ran after Daniel. Behind them, the Honey Badger turned to face 12 cruisers alone. Jake opened a communication channel to the research station. "This is Captain Jake of the Honey Badger. All civilians evacuate immediately. We'll buy you time." Laura's voice came back, grateful and worried. "Captain, there are 12 of them. You can't fight them alone." "Ma'am, with respect, we're not here to fight fair. We're here to protect that little girl. Now get to your shuttle." Jake cut the channel and turned to his crew. "Amy, target their weapon systems. Peter, keep power to shields and engines. We're going to make them chase us through the debris field." The Honey Badger accelerated toward the asteroid field that surrounded the research station. Behind it, 12 cruisers turned ponderously, their massive bulk slow to maneuver. Amy fired the Honey Badgers. The tungsten slugs crossed the distance in seconds, slamming into the weapon ports of the nearest cruiser. The shots were precise, damaging but not destroying. Jake wanted to disable, not kill, not yet. "They're spreading out to surround us," Amy reported. "Let them. The more spread out they are, the less coordinated their attack." Jake piloted the Honey Badger through the asteroid field with practiced skill. The small ship darted between space rocks, using them as cover. The fired, their plasma weapons turning asteroids into molten slag, but the Honey Badger was always somewhere else by the time the shots arrived. "Captain, shields at 70%, Peter called out. "They're getting our range." "Send an encrypted message. Priority code, coordinates and urgency level maximum." "Who are we calling, sir?" Amy asked. "Anyone close enough to help." Jake knew the odds. 1 frigate against 12 cruisers was suicide math. But every second he kept them busy was another second for the civilians to escape. and maybe, just maybe, help would arrive before his ship was reduced to scrap metal. They tried to predict his movements, firing at where they thought he would be. But Jake had spent years studying alien tactics. He knew how they thought, how they fought, and he knew their weakness. They fought by the book, following standard fleet doctrine. Jake didn't have a book. He had instinct and a willingness to try things no sane captain would attempt. He flew the Honey Badger within meters of a cruiser's hull, so close their shields overlapped. They couldn't fire without hitting their own ship. Jake fired upward, his weapons tearing into the cruiser's underbelly armor. "Shields at 40%, Peter warned. "Keep power flowing. We just need to last a little longer." Commander watched the small human ship dance through his fleet, damaging ships that should have crushed it in seconds. His crew was confused, unsure how to fight an enemy that refused to follow standard combat patterns. "This is humiliating," hissed. "We are the Empire. We do not lose to a single human ship. Activate the quantum jammers. Prevent them from jumping to faster than light speed." His tactical officer worked the controls. "Jammers active, Commander. The human ship is trapped." "Good, now close the formation. Force them into the open." Jake saw the tactical display change. They were tightening their net. The asteroid field wouldn't provide cover much longer, and his long-range sensors showed something worse. They had activated jump inhibitors. He couldn't escape even if he wanted to. "Captain, message incoming," Amy said. "Encrypted response to your distress call." "Let's hear it." Three voices came through, strong and clear. Captain of the Lion 1, Commander Parker of the Lion 2, Lieutenant Commander Shaw of the Lion 3. The three destroyer captains spoke almost in unison. "Honey Badger, this is Lion Pride formation. We received your signal. We're 3 minutes out. Hold position." Jake felt relief wash through him. 3 destroyers, not enough to guarantee victory, but enough to change the odds. Enough to turn a massacre into a fight. He opened the channel to the flagship. Commander's face appeared on his screen, scales still flushed red with anger. "Human, surrender now. Your shields are failing. You cannot escape." Jake leaned back in his chair, letting a slow smile cross his face. "Commander, you made a mistake today. You aimed at a child. Do you know what humans do when you threaten our children?" The 3 destroyers came out of faster than light travel in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of the distant star. Captain stood on the bridge of Lion 1, studying the tactical display with sharp eyes. 12 cruisers surrounded the Honey Badger like predators circling wounded prey. The small frigate's shields flickered, barely holding. "Status of the Honey Badger?" asked her tactical officer. "Shields at 28%, Captain. Multiple hull breaches, but they're still fighting." "That's for you, stubborn to the end," opened a channel to her fellow captains. "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Commander Parker's voice came through from Lion 2. 12-4, I've faced worse odds." "No, you haven't," Lieutenant Commander Shaw replied from Lion 3, his tone dry despite the tension. "Okay, maybe not, but we're here now, so let's make it count." Pulled up the battle plan she had worked out during the 3-minute jump. "Take your ship high, hit them from above. You go low, I'll take the middle. We create a 3-dimensional attack pattern. They won't know where to point their guns." "What about the Honey Badger?" asked. "We'll figure it out, he always does." The 3 destroyers split apart, moving in different directions. The trained in traditional fleet tactics hesitated. Their formations were designed to face enemies that approached from one direction. This scattered attack confused their targeting systems. Jake saw the lion cub spread out and understood immediately. Was using the classic human advantage. Humans thought in 3 dimensions naturally because they evolved under open skies, climbing trees, looking up for predators and down for prey. Many alien species evolved in caves or underwater or in dense forests. They thought in flat plains and straight lines. "Amy, coordinate our movements with the lion cubs. Peter, I need one more power surge for shields." "Captain, I've already pushed the reactor past safety limits." "Then push it further. We're not dead yet." Lion 1 came in fast, its firing before they could react. The tungsten slugs hammered into the nearest cruiser's shield generators. The shields flickered and died. Its next volley hit bare hull, punching through armor and destroying weapon ports. Commander saw his formation falling apart. All ships reform defensive positions, focus fire on the destroyers, forget the frigate for now. But the Honey Badger wasn't forgetting them. Jake brought his ship around and targeted the same cruiser had damaged. His missiles found the weak points, the places where armor was already compromised. The cruiser's engines exploded in a brilliant flash. 1 down, 11 to go. Brought Lion 2 up and over the formation, firing down at their top armor. They had reinforced their frontal shields because that's where enemies usually attacked. Their top armor was thinner, designed to protect against asteroids, not military weapons. Plasma cannons burned through it like paper. Took Lion 3 below the formation, his weapons officer targeting engine assemblies. A ship without engines was a floating target. He disabled 2 cruisers in quick succession, their propulsion systems melting under focused fire. They're trying to regroup, Amy reported to Jake, forming a defensive sphere. Then we don't let them finish. Jake pushed the Honey Badger forward directly into the gap between 2 ships. It was a narrow space, barely wider than his vessel. They couldn't fire without hitting each other. Captain, that's insane, Peter said, watching the distance shrink on his display. Probably, but it's working. The Honey Badger slipped through the gap, firing to both sides. The close range made shields nearly useless. His weapons carved deep wounds into both cruisers. Saw what Jake was doing and smiled. Crazy brilliant. Follow the Honey Badger's lead, get in close, make them afraid to shoot. The 3 lion cubs accelerated, each picking a different gap in the formation. The battle turned into a close-range brawl, ships passing within meters of each other. The trained for long-range fleet combat struggled to adjust. Commander slammed his fist on his command console. This is chaos. Humans fight like animals without discipline. His tactical officer looked up nervously. Sir, we've lost 4 ships. 3 more are damaged and unable to maneuver. The humans are coordinating perfectly despite no central command structure. Impossible. They must have quantum communication systems we can't detect. No, sir. They're just reading each other's movements and adapting. Realized with cold certainty that he had underestimated these humans. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like pack hunters, each ship instinctively supporting the others. It was the kind of coordination that came from millions of years of evolution, not military training. All remaining ships, Emergency Protocol 7, target the research station itself. If we destroy it, the humans will have to break off their attack to rescue survivors. Jake intercepted the communication. They're going after the station. The civilians haven't finished evacuating. I heard, Lion Cubs, new priority, defensive positions around the station. The 3 destroyers and the Honey Badger moved as one, positioning themselves between thee and the research station. It was an old human tactic, as old as civilization itself. Protect the weak. Guard the home. Stand between danger and those who cannot fight. They fired everything they had. Plasma weapons, missiles, kinetic projectiles. The space between the fleets lit up with deadly energy. Lion 2 took a direct hit. Ship shook violently as plasma burned through the port shields. 3 decks decompressed instantly. 14 crew members died before the emergency bulkheads sealed. Report called out. We're still here. His voice was tight with pain. His face on the communication screen showed burns on one side. Lost port shields and main weapons, but we can still fight with secondaries. Fall back, you've done enough. Negative, there are still civilians on that station. We hold the line. Ship took damage next. A missile got through his point defense and struck his engine section. Lion 3's speed dropped by 40%. I'm compromised, reported, but I'm not leaving. Jake watched the tactical display. His crew had fought brilliantly, but they were being worn down. They had more ships, more weapons, more of everything except one thing. They didn't have a reason to keep fighting when the odds turned bad. Amy, target the flagship, everything we have left. Sir, we don't have enough firepower to penetrate their shields. We don't need to, we just need to get their attention. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Checked her weapons status. Concentrated alpha strike on the flagship. On my mark, Amy, calculate firing solutions for all 4 ships. Account for debris, radiation, everything. I want every shot to hit within a 1-second window. Amy's hands moved fast across her console. The math was complex, requiring precise timing, but she had trained for this. Every human naval officer trained for the moment when victory depended on perfect coordination. Solutions calculated and transmitted to all ships, Amy announced. Jake watched the range close. The flagship loomed large on its dark hull covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. It was a symbol of power, of their military dominance. It was the ship that had ordered the death of a child. 30 seconds to optimal range, Amy counted down. On the research station, Laura watched through the evacuation shuttle's viewport. The 4 human ships had positioned themselves between her and death, between Sophie and death. She held her daughter close, both of them watching the battle unfold. "Are they winning, Mom?" Sophie asked. "I don't know, honey, but they're trying. They're trying so hard to protect us." 20 seconds, Amy announced. Jake opened a channel to all 4 ships. Today we remind the galaxy what it means to threaten human children. Today we show them that humans protect the innocent at any cost. All ships arm all weapons, power to maximum. On my mark, we fire everything. 10 seconds. Commander saw the human ships aligning on his vessel. He understood what they intended. A desperate all-or-nothing attack. He almost admired their courage. "Reinforce forward shields. Prepare to absorb impact," he ordered. 5 seconds. Gripped her command chair, steadied himself despite his injuries, checked his targeting one last time. Jake took a deep breath. Fire. 24 fired as one. 60 missiles launched in a coordinated swarm. 8 plasma cannons discharged simultaneously. The weapons converged on the flagship from 4 different angles, arriving within milliseconds of each other. The flagship's shields flared brilliant white, absorbing energy that could crack a moon. For 3 seconds the shields held, then they collapsed. The remaining weapons hit bare hull, armor plating designed to withstand almost anything shattered under the concentrated assault. Explosions rippled across the flagship's surface. Systems failed in cascading waves. Commander was thrown from his command chair as his ship died around him. Emergency lights flickered. Atmosphere vented from 100 breaches. His crew scrambled for escape pods. Jake opened a channel to the flagship. "Commander, this is Captain. Your flagship is crippled. Your fleet is broken. Surrender now and I promise you'll be treated according to Galactic Council regulations." The silence after battle felt strange. Jake sat in his command chair, watching the flagship lift slowly to one side, atmosphere venting from multiple breaches. Around it, escape pods launched in clusters, tiny silver bubbles carrying survivors into the void. "Amy, coordinate with the lion cubs. I want every escape pod recovered. No one gets left behind." "Even the, sir?" Amy asked, though she already knew the answer. "Especially they need to see how humans treat prisoners." Peter limped onto the bridge, his left arm in a makeshift sling. The last attack had thrown him against a bulkhead. "Captain, we've got atmosphere leaks on decks 2 and 3. Main reactor is running at 60%, and we've lost half our weapons." "But we're still flying." "Barely. This ship held together through sheer stubbornness, kind of like her captain." Jake allowed himself a small smile. "Get repair crews on those leaks, and Peter, get that arm looked at properly." "There are 14 people who need medical attention more than me, sir. I can wait." On Lion 2, Parker supervised damage control while medical teams worked around him. His face was bandaged, covering the burns he had sustained. His first officer, Lieutenant Amy Watts, kept trying to convince him to go to medical bay. "Captain, you need treatment for those burns." "I need to make sure this ship stays operational, Amy. We have survivors to collect." "Sir, with respect, you can barely see out of your left eye." "Touch the bandage gently." "Then I'll use my right eye." "Amy, those fired on a child. They're war criminals. But they're also beaten enemies who surrendered. We have a responsibility to treat them with dignity." Amy nodded. She understood. This was what separated humans from species like humans could be vicious in combat but merciful in victory. Brought Lion 1 alongside the research station. The structure had sustained minor damage from stray weapons fire, but the evacuation shuttles were intact. She opened a communication channel. "Research Station Delta 7, this is Captain of Lion 1. Is everyone safe?" Laura's voice came back, shaky with relief. "We're all here, Captain, thanks to you and the other ships. How bad is the damage to your vessels?" "We've had better days, but we're still flying. That's what matters." "Captain, I need to speak with whoever saved my daughter. the ship that intercepted the first attack. That would be captain of the Honey Badger. I'll arrange a meeting once things settle down. Glanced at her tactical officer. Send a message to Fleet Command. Priority 1, we need medical ships, repair vessels, and a diplomatic team. This situation is about to get complicated. In the greenhouse of the research station, Daniel helped the repair crews seal the dome. The transparent aluminum had multiple cracks from the stress of the battle. It would hold for now, but needed proper replacement. Sophie stood among her plants, checking each one carefully. Some had been knocked over during the emergency. She righted them gently, pressing soil back around their roots. They're okay, she told Daniel. The plants are okay. That's because someone protected them, Daniel replied. Just like those ships protected you. Why did they want to hurt me? Daniel knelt down beside her. It was a hard question to answer for an 8-year-old. Sometimes people are afraid of things they don't understand. They are afraid of humans, so they tried to hurt you to make themselves feel safer. But that doesn't make sense. I'm just a kid. You're right, it doesn't make sense. That's why good people had to stop them. 2 hours after the battle ended, the 4 human ships gathered near the research station. Between them, they had recovered 247 survivors. The prisoners were confined in cargo holds, given medical treatment, and provided with food and water appropriate for their biology. Commander found himself in a holding cell aboard Lion 1. The cell was clean, temperature-controlled, and had basic amenities. A human guard stood outside, armed but not threatening. It was far better treatment than prisoners would receive in a facility. Came to see him personally. She stood outside the cell, studying the commander through the transparent barrier. Comfortable, she asked. Scales were pale gray, a sign of shame in his species. Why are you treating us well? We tried to kill your civilians. We targeted a child. Because that's what my species does. We fight hard, but we don't torture. We don't abuse prisoners, even when they deserve it. The galaxy thinks humans are brutal, dangerous, but you offer mercy to your enemies. Crossed her arms. The galaxy doesn't understand humans very well. We're brutal when we need to be. We're dangerous when you threaten what we protect, but we're not cruel. Cruelty is weakness, not strength. Slumped against the cell wall. I have served the Empire for 30 years. I was taught that humans are a threat, that you spread like a plague, that eliminating human children is strategic necessity. And now I understand why other species fear you. Not because you're brutal, because you're effective. You fight with coordination we cannot match. You protect your young with ferocity we cannot overcome. And you show mercy we cannot comprehend. Turned to leave, then stopped. Commander, when you return to your people, tell them something. Tell them that humans will defend themselves and our allies with everything we have. But we don't seek conquest. We seek coexistence. The choice between war and peace is theirs. 3 days after the battle, Laura received permission to visit the Honey Badger. The frigate was docked at the research station, repair crews working around the clock to patch the damaged hull. She brought Sophie with her, holding her daughter's hand as they walked through the airlock. Jake met them in the corridor. He looked tired, his uniform stained with grease and coolant from helping with repairs. But he smiled when he saw Sophie. You must be Doctor, and this must be the young lady we came to help. Sophie hid slightly behind her mother, shy in front of the captain. Sophie, this is Captain. His ship saved us, Laura said gently. Sophie stepped forward and held out a folded piece of paper. I drew you something. Jake knelt down and took the drawing. It showed 4 ships surrounding a station, drawn in crayon with careful detail. Above the ships, she had written "My Guardian Angels" in shaky letters. This is beautiful, Jake said, his voice thick with emotion. Can I keep it? Sophie nodded. You and the other captains, because you protected us. That's our job, Sophie, protecting people like you. Even though you got hurt. Especially then. See, Sophie, being strong isn't about never getting hurt. It's about getting hurt and still standing between bad things and good people. Laura wiped her eyes. Captain, I don't know how to thank you. You risked everything for strangers, for my daughter. Doctor, the moment you sent that distress call, you stopped being strangers. You became people we had a duty to protect, and there's no risk we won't take to protect a child. Peter appeared in the corridor carrying a toolbox. He nodded to Laura and Sophie. Sorry to interrupt, Captain, but we've got a problem with the starboard reactor coupling. Need your approval to shut it down for repairs. Do it. How long will we be grounded? Week, maybe 2. This ship took a baiting. She held together when it mattered. That's all I ask. Laura watched the easy interaction between captain and engineer. You really care about this ship. The honey badger saved my life more times than I can count, and yesterday she saved Sophie's life. Yeah, I care about her. Later that day, all 4 captains gathered in the research station's conference room. Admiral Richard Cole appeared on the main, his expression stern but not angry. Captains, you engaged 12 enemy vessels without authorization. You risked your ships and crews in a battle you were not ordered to fight. The regulations are very clear about this. The 4 captains stood at attention, ready to accept whatever punishment came. Admiral Cole continued, however, you also saved 15 civilian lives, including a child. You defeated a superior enemy force with minimal friendly casualties, and you demonstrated to the galaxy that humanity protects the innocent. He paused. The Galactic Council wants to hold an emergency session. They're calling this incident a war crime by the multiple species are demanding the Empire face sanctions. Sir, what about our crews? Asked. Your crews are getting commendations, all of them. As for you 4, the regulations say I should court-martial you. Cole's stern expression broke into a slight smile. But the regulations also give me discretion in cases of exceptional circumstances, and this certainly qualifies. Thank you, sir, Jake said. Don't thank me yet. I'm promoting all 4 of you and giving you bigger commands, which means more responsibility and more paperwork. You'll wish I had court-martialed you. After the admiral signed off, the 4 captains looked at each other. We just got promoted for breaking every rule in the book, said. We got promoted for doing what was right, corrected. There's a difference. Checked his data pad. Fleet Command is sending medical ships and a diplomatic team. They'll be here in 2 days. Until then, we maintain position and continue rescue operations. Jake looked out the viewport at the damaged ships floating in space. You know what this means, right? This battle is going to change things. The galaxy thought humans were dangerous. Now they know we're protectors too. 7 days after the battle, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. The council chamber was a massive sphere floating in orbit above the neutral world of Concordia. Representatives from 400 species sat in sections arranged by region and alliance. The chamber's walls displayed holographic feeds from across the galaxy, ensuring billions of citizens could watch the proceedings. Ambassador Helen Wright represented humanity. She was a career diplomat who had negotiated treaties with dozens of species, but today felt different. Today, the entire galaxy was watching. The representative, counselor, spoke first. His scales were dark with shame, but his voice remained defiant. The Empire deeply regrets the unauthorized actions of Commander. He exceeded his authority and violated our own military codes. We have recalled all frontier commanders and initiated internal reforms. Counselor a being from the cluster, clicked her mandibles in disapproval. The Empire regrets being caught. Your commander followed doctrine that your government has promoted for decades, the systematic prejudice against humans, the constant military provocations. We acknowledge mistakes were made, N replied carefully. But humans are dangerous. Their world is a nightmare of predators and disasters. They evolved to be violent. Helen stood, her presence commanding despite being smaller than most species in the chamber. Counselor, you're absolutely right. Earth is a dangerous world. We did evolve to survive threats that would kill most species, but you make a critical error in your analysis. She gestured and the chamber's displays changed. They showed footage from the battle recorded by the research station's external sensors. The 4 human ships positioning themselves between thee and the station, taking damage, holding position despite impossible odds. You think our evolution made us violent, Helen continued, but it made us protective. Humans evolved in family groups. We survived by working together, by protecting our children and our weak. Yes, we can be fierce, but that ferocity is triggered by threats to the innocent, not by conquest or cruelty. The chamber filled with translated murmurs as species discussed among themselves. Helen brought up another image. Sophie's drawing of the 4 ships, her childish handwriting labeling them as guardian angels. This is what your commander tried to kill, an 8-year-old girl watering plants. And when he fired on her, 4 human ships responded instantly. Not because they were ordered, not because of strategy or politics, but because protecting children is what humans do. It's in our bones, our blood, our very nature. A new voice spoke. Ambassador, the who had witnessed the initial confrontation. I was there when Commander gave the order to fire on the child. I heard the distress call from Doctor, and I saw the human response. They arrived within seconds and immediately put themselves in danger to protect civilians they had never met. They were following orders, N protested weakly. No, replied. Captain broke stealth protocol without authorization. The 3 destroyer captains jumped into the battle zone without fleet approval. They violated regulations because those regulations moved too slowly to save a child. That is not military doctrine, that is instinct. Helen touched her data pad, bringing up sensor logs. The fleet fired 1,423 shots during the battle. Analysis shows that 72% were aimed at disabling human ships, but 28% were aimed at the research station itself, trying to force the human ships to choose between pursuit and protection. And what did the humans choose? Asked, though she already knew the answer. Protection, every single time. They took damage they could have avoided by maneuvering away from the station. Commander Parker's ship suffered hull breaches that killed 14 crew members because he maintained a defensive position between thee and the civilians. The chamber fell silent. Death in battle was one thing, choosing to die to protect strangers was something else. N tried one more argument. The humans still destroyed ships, they killed our people. After being fired upon, Helen shot back. After a deliberate attempt to murder a child, and even then they offered surrender. They provided medical treatment to prisoners. They rescued every single escape pod, including Commander himself. The human captain offered mercy to the being who had tried to kill a little girl. Stood, her exoskeleton clicking. The cluster moves to formally censure the Empire for war crimes. Targeting civilians, especially children, violates every civilized principle. The League seconds the motion, announced another counselor. The Alliance supports censure, came a third voice. The vote was swift and overwhelming. 372 species voted to censure the Empire. Only 18 abstained. None voted against. But Helen wasn't finished. I want to address something else. Many species view humans as dangerous, as who should be contained or limited. Today, I ask you to reconsider that view. Yes, humans are dangerous, but we're dangerous to those who threaten the innocent. We're dangerous to bullies and tyrants. We're dangerous to anyone who thinks might makes right. She paused, making eye contact with representatives across the chamber. But to those who seek peace, to those who protect their own people, to those who value life over conquest, humans are not your enemy. We're potential allies. We're protectors who will stand between your families and harm. The holographic displays showed footage from across human space. Other species had been watching the battle closely, and something remarkable had begun happening. Smaller species, those who lived in vulnerable regions, had started requesting human protection agreements. On the station, Jake was reviewing repair reports when a communication came through. It was from a species he barely recognized, They were a peaceful civilization that had suffered raids from pirates for decades. Captain, we watched your battle. We saw how you protected the humans on the research station. Our people are small, weak compared to most galactic species. We cannot defend ourselves. Would humanity consider a mutual protection treaty? Jake looked at the ambassador's earnest face on his screen. Ambassador, that's a question for diplomats and politicians. I'm just a ship captain. No, Captain, you are a symbol. You showed the galaxy that humans protect the weak. That is why we come to you first. After the call ended, Jake walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent aluminum, he could see the 4 ships floating in formation. Repair crews crawled over their hulls, welding new plates, replacing damaged systems. The ships looked battered, but they were still there, still protecting. Found him there. Got a call from Fleet Command. They're assigning us as a permanent unit. The honey badger and 3 lion cubs. Apparently we have a reputation now. Is that what they're calling us, the lion cubs? The whole galaxy is calling us that. There are news broadcasts on 200 worlds showing Sophie's drawing. We're famous. I didn't do this for fame. I know, that's why it matters. On the research station, Laura helped Sophie pack their belongings. They were being relocated to a more secure facility deeper in human space. Sophie didn't want to leave her greenhouse. But Mom, who will take care of the plants. Daniel is staying. He'll make sure they're okay and will come back to visit. Sophie held her small backpack, looking around the greenhouse one more time. Mom, why did Captain save us? He didn't even know us. Laura knelt down. Because that's what good people do, Sophie. They help others even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous. And Captain is a very good person. When I grow up, I want to be like him. Laura smiled, tears in her eyes. I think that's a wonderful goal, honey. The evacuation shuttle departed 2 hours later. As it pulled away from the station, Sophie pressed her face against the viewport. The 4 ships were still there, maintaining their protective position. She waved, even though she knew they couldn't see her. On the bridge of the Honey Badger, Amy noticed something on her sensors. Captain, the evacuation shuttle is leaving. Jake looked at the tactical display. The small shuttle carrying Laura and Sophie to safety. The mission was complete. Wish them well, Amy. They've been through enough. Sir, I'm picking up a transmission. Audio only from the shuttle. Put it through. Sophie's voice filled the bridge, young and clear. Thank you, Captain, and all the nice people on the ships. You saved me and my mom and everyone else. I drew pictures for all of you. My mom says you're heroes. I think she's right. I hope I can be brave like you someday. The bridge crew was silent. Peter wiped his eyes. Amy stared at her console, blinking rapidly. Jake cleared his throat. Transmit a message back. Tell her that she's already brave. It takes courage to face danger, and she did that. Tell her to keep drawing, keep learning, and keep being kind. The galaxy needs more people like her. 3 months later, Jake stood in Admiral Cole's office at Fleet Command. The promotion ceremony had been formal and long. He now wore captain's insignia with an additional star, indicating command of a ship group, and stood beside him, similarly promoted. The 4 of you have created something interesting, Admiral Cole said, walking to his office window. Outside, construction yards worked on new ships. Since the battle at Research Station Delta 7, we've received protection requests from 43 different species. The Honey Badger design is being mass-produced. We're building 8 new destroyer squadrons based on the Lion-Cub pattern. Sir, we just did our jobs, said. You did more than that. You changed how the galaxy sees humanity. We're no longer just dangerous, we're protectors. Do you understand the implications? It means more responsibility, Jake replied. More people depending on us. Exactly, and you 4 are going to train the next generation. You'll command the new protection fleet, teaching other captains how to fight smart, how to protect civilians, how to be what the galaxy needs us to be. His face, still bearing scars from the battle, spoke up. Sir, what about and the other? Trial is ongoing, but between you and me, they're facing life imprisonment. The government is cooperating fully to avoid further sanctions. They're claiming he was a rogue element. Was he? Asked. Admiral Cole sighed. That's complicated, followed doctrine that had been official policy for years. But when that policy led to targeting a child in front of the whole galaxy, suddenly it became a rogue action. Politics. What matters is that it won't happen again, Jake said. The galaxy is watching now. Any species that targets civilians will face the consequences. 6 months after the battle, a monument was erected at Research Station Delta 7. It was a simple stone structure in the repaired greenhouse, surrounded by the plants Sophie had been watering when they attacked. The inscription read, Here, 4 ships stood between cruelty and innocence. Here, humanity showed the galaxy its true nature. We protect. We defend. We stand for those who cannot stand for themselves. Daniel maintained the greenhouse personally, making sure the plants stayed healthy and the monument stayed clean. Visitors came from across human space and beyond. Parents brought their children to see where the famous battle had occurred. Sophie returned for the dedication ceremony. She was older now, taller, her voice more confident. She placed flowers at the monument's base, flowers she had grown herself. These are from our garden back home, she told the crowd. I wanted to bring something living because that's what this place is about, protecting life. The 4 captains were there, standing in their dress uniforms. Jake noticed Sophie looking at him and smiled. She walked over, less shy now. Captain, I'm applying to the Naval Academy next year. I want to learn how to protect people like you did. Sophie, you don't need to join the military to protect people. You can be a doctor, a teacher, a scientist like your mother. I know, but I want to, because of what you taught me. What did I teach you? That being strong means using your strength to help others. That real courage is standing between bad things and good people, even when you're scared. And that everyone deserves protection, even your enemies after they surrender. Jake felt a lump in his throat. This 8-year-old girl, now growing into a thoughtful young woman, had understood the lesson better than most adults. Then I hope you make it to the academy, and when you graduate, I'll be honored to have you serve on one of my ships. The ceremony ended as the sun set over the research station. The 4 ships, fully repaired now, stood in formation above the structure. Their hulls gleamed in the fading light, a permanent reminder to the galaxy. Humans protect, always, no matter the cost. And the galaxy, watching from 1,000 worlds, finally understood what it meant to be human. Not dangerous because they sought conquest. Dangerous because they refused to let innocence be harmed. The honey badger and 3 lion cubs had taught the galaxy a lesson, and the galaxy would not forget. "Is that better or worse?" asked. "Better," said firmly. "Much better. Let them fear our strength, but let them also know we use that strength to guard the weak. That's a reputation worth having." Outside the viewport, the 4 ships floated in formation around the research station, battered but unbroken. Inside the station, Sophie sat in the greenhouse with her plants, safe and loved. And across the galaxy, the story of the honey badger and 3 lion cubs began to spread. Pulled himself up, scales dulled with shock. "You targeted a child, an innocent child, and you're offering me mercy." "That's what humans do," Jake said simply. "We protect the innocent, all of them, even our enemies when they stop fighting." Looked at his tactical display. 4 of his cruisers were destroyed, 3 more were disabled. The remaining 5 were damaged and surrounded. He had lost, completely and totally. "We surrender," he said quietly. "You die like any other species." "No," Jake said quietly. "We remind the galaxy why Earth is called a help is coming, and when it arrives, you're going to learn a very important lesson. Humans protect the innocent, always, no matter the cost." He cut the channel. Through the viewports, he could see 3 ships dropping out of faster-than-light speed, their weapons already charging. The lion cubs had arrived. Sophie closed her eyes tight and buried her face in her mother's shoulder.